Hey guys, what's up? So many great JRPGs have never been released outside Japan, and we need these RPGs. There are some of them that we absolutely need them. A localization, an English release in our lands. And with so many companies re-releasing, remaking, remastering everything nowadays, I'm surprised they haven't even touched the 10 games that you're about to see today. I picked 10 games that I consider great, that I think deserve and need a localization in an English release. And stay put because there are also some honorable mentions at the end. Alright, let's begin! Number 10. Princess Crown. With the current success of Vanillaware games, most specifically Dragon's Crown and Odin's Sphere, I can't quite fathom why Atlus hasn't considered giving the West an English release of Princess Crown. This is a 2D action RPG made by some of the founders of Vanillaware, including President George Kamitani, on the Sega Saturn. It was later ported to the PSP to a much better improvement, but neither version was ever released outside Japan. Back then, Vanillaware wasn't as known, popular, and successful as it is today, which might be the reason why a game like this stayed in the shadows. To make matters worse, there isn't an English fan translation yet of this title. So chances are, if you don't know Japanese, you won't get very far in this game, just like me. I can easily tell it's no masterpiece, but it is the beginning of Kamitani's style in action RPGs. Odin's Sphere, Muramasa, and even Dragon's Crown are considered as spiritual successors. So come on, Sega Atlus, we need this game, please! The world outside Japan needs to meet the beginning of such a grandiose style in RPGs. Number 9. Phantasy Star Nova. Well, they finally localized Phantasy Star Online 2, which was great news, but what about Phantasy Star Nova? It was just left there on the Vita with no English release whatsoever. It's story-focused, specifically on one single-player mode, just like the entire Universe saga was done. It sold very well in Japan and it wasn't exclusive to the system. Like, how many exclusive RPGs did we get for the PS Vita? And you left this one behind? From one of the most iconic RPG franchises ever? You won't believe who actually co-developed this game. Tri-Ace. That's right, the creators of Valkyrie Profile and Star Ocean. It blows my mind that this action RPG stayed in Japan. It gained positive reviews over there, and it actually looks great. It was developed nearly when nobody gave a damn about the Vita anymore, so maybe that's why they never brought it. We need a localization for this game. With the revival of Phantasy Star Online outside of your country of origin, you may want to reconsider and release this game on the PS4 Sega, or even on the Vita itself, although it might be a little bit too late for that. But still! Phantasy Star Nova is an RPG that needs an English release no matter what. Number 8. Shining Force 3, Scenarios 2 and 3. I'm still not done with you, Sega. No sir. You are one of the greatest companies ever created for video game development, and I'm a huge fan of some of your games. I may not be the biggest Shining Force fan out there, but I sure love the series as much as anybody else. Shining Force 3 on the Sega Saturn was left incomplete, but not in Japan. Over there, this game was cut into 3 episodes, all released on the system, but the only one that got a localization was the first episode. Man, what the hell? I know it was around that time with Camelot Software Planning, the original developers, were already cutting ties with Sega, but Sega still has the rights. And well, releasing this game on the most expensive console to collect for nowadays might have been too much to ask for. But what about our mother systems? How about a Shining Force collection with all 3 scenarios fully translated? There are barely any fans of this franchise out there nowadays, so I doubt this will ever happen. But I don't care, we still need this. Number 7. Tales of Innocence R. The Nintendo DS version, the one I played, was fan-translated several years ago. I noticed it had a great battle system where you can run around with your characters with no layer limitation. Story started kinda weird, then dumb, then it got really interesting. I honestly got hooked up with this amazing title only to find out its remake on the PS Vita was also never released outside Japan. What the? We're talking about the Tales franchise here! The one that's been very successful in the West, enough to guarantee a decent amount of sales? Sure, the original version on the DS was kinda harder than other titles in the series, but it was still balanced. This is one game where I'm truly flabbergasted to know it wasn't localized. I mean, we got Tales of Hearts R, but not this? I'm confused, Bandai Namco. I would like to know the reasons behind this decision, so if anyone knows something or can throw a theory or two in the comments, I would appreciate it. Nevertheless, this is one great RPG that needs an English release. And you wanna know which other Tales of needs one as well? Tales of Rebirth. I've never played this game because there is no way to play it in English. It was originally released on the PS2 and 4 years later ported to the PSP. Only in Japan! It was heavily awarded, commercial success, great feedback, positive reviews, and we never got a single version of it. I should have made my research, but I know you guys will swarm the comment section with an explanation. But you know what? I don't care about excuses. I want to play this game in English, and I'm pretty sure with the current popularity and success of this big and well-respected franchise in the West, Rebirth is going to be a hit. Well, can't talk much about it since it's an RPG that I have never played, but it's a Tales of and I'm a fan of the series, so all I know is that I need an English release of it. Number 5. Growlanser. This one I'm perfectly aware of the many reasons as to why it was never localized. Developed for the PS1 and later ported to the PSP, both versions stayed in Japan mainly thanks to the difficulty of the games. That's right, the Growlanser series are kinda infamous for being brutal and very hard to get into, especially the first 3 games. That means this guy over here, who was the beginning of it all, is no exception. But the real reason was because the only one interested in bringing over these titles back in the day was Working Designs. However, the PS1 was at its end and money was being made already on the PS2. The company was then forced to work on its 2 sequels to release them in a collection that we all know as Growlanser Generations. What I don't understand is why they didn't include the original there. I know Sony had policies against multi-format collections, but they allowed that for Metal Gear Solid, so what happened? Well, we're talking about a very unsuccessful niche RPG franchise that never really made it outside Japan. Hence why Atlus didn't even bother localizing the PSP version either. But don't worry, Langrisser 1 and 2 HD remake is coming to the Switch, to the West, made by the same developers, Careersoft, and that's an even more niche franchise. So maybe not all hope is lost? I'm a huge Growlanser fan, and this is the beginning of one of my favorite RPG series of all time. So yeah, I strongly believe it's an RPG that needs an English release and a localization. Number 4. Fire Emblem New Mystery of the Emblem. Okay, let me get this straight, Intelligent Systems. You make a full remake of the first 3 Fire Emblem games released on the Famicom, but only 2 were localized? The hell, Nintendo? Okay, I get it. Shadow Dragon, the prequel, wasn't very successful in the West, and that actually hurt the franchise's name, putting it on a perilous situation. The danger of the series from disappearing was overflowing. So Japan got this great game, far better than Shadow Dragon in my opinion, with a fan-translated patch so you can actually enjoy it. But the rest of the world didn't get it. That might be the reason, true, but that was then. Now is now. It's the perfect time to get back at this amazing, underrated RPG that even surpassed its predecessor. You went ahead and remade Gaiden, now called Echo Shadows of Valentia on the 3DS, so why not release this game in English for the same system, or hell, for the Nintendo Switch? Maybe along with Shadow Dragon on a re-release? Come on, Nintendo, it's time and you know it. Number 3. Zero no Kiseki and Ao no Kiseki, also known as Trails of Zero and Trails of Azure. These twins are the only ones in the Trails franchise, now very successful and beloved by many fans in the West, that never came out of Japan. More and more people are joining the nest of Trails love every day, so perhaps Falcom will one day allow these two to be localized, maybe by Exceed, maybe by Knees of America. It doesn't matter who does it as long as they do it. Well, if you want to play these two games, which actually work as the second arc in the series, Steel and Crossbell, taking place 3 months after the events of Trails in the Sky the Third, you can do it now since they are fan-translated not too long ago. They were both released on the PSP, then ported to PC, then to the Vita as Evolution. Jesus, that's 3 versions of the games we never got! When they were released, however, back in 2010, this franchise was definitely not popular and barely any gamers knew about it. Trails in the Sky was localized the next year by Exceed, and it was still an underrated gem back then. So it's kinda obvious why this duology never made it outside Japan. Now, however, with the success of the franchise all around the world, Falcom surely knows it's time to consider an English release for these two games. They've shown interest as a matter of fact, so maybe it's not too much to hope for. Number 2. Valkyria Chronicles 3. As one of my absolute favorite RPGs on the PSP, if not my favorite as a matter of fact, I still can't believe Sega has done nothing to localize it. There's not a single legit reason why this game is still in Japan, as an exclusive to the PSP. Back then, in 2011, when it was released, Sega and Sony noticed that Valkyria Chronicles 2 hadn't sold well in the West. But we're still aware that the first game in the series had indeed been successful. This caused contradictory feelings among them and decided to keep this masterpiece in Nippon lands. Valkyria Chronicles 4 was released in 2018, and even though it hasn't sold very well either, there's a promising future for the series as it's gained more and more fans over the years. I would love to see a remake or remaster of this game for modern systems, or much better, a collection with the first 3 titles. Fortunately, you can also play a fan-translated version of this game on your PSP, just like I did. It's a great game, taking place at the same time as the original Valkyria Chronicles, with focusing on a Black Ops platoon. This excellent RPG definitely needs an English release like yesterday. Number 1. Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War and Fire Emblem Thracia 776. Let's go back to the Fire Emblem 2 topic. There's no reason why Nintendo and Intelligent Systems are holding these two down. Fans are literally begging them, even in Japan, for a remake, remaster, or at least a re-release of these two amazing games. They were both for the Super Famicom and oh my god, they are among the hardest JRPGs I've ever played in my life. Thracia is astonishingly unforgiving, as its RNG is completely broken. Percentages in this game were so screwed up that I rage quit many times. Genealogy had really long maps and some spikes here and there that made me rethink my strategy over and over again, but goddamn, I still love the heck out of them. We're talking about a time in the 90s when Japan thought really hard strategy RPGs were too much for Americans and Europeans to handle. So it's notorious why this pair never made it across the ocean. Its fanbase, however, has currently proven over the last several years that there is much love for them. Fire Emblem is one of the most successful RPG franchises nowadays, and with so many games and spin-offs out there, I'm dumbfounded to see no interest from the developers. But they sure were promoting them in Fire Emblem Heroes with many different characters from both titles, eh? Nintendo, get your shit together and find a way to release these two amazing entries in English. You know they'll be successful somehow. You know it. I know some of you were waiting to see Trails of Cold Steel 4 in this list, but don't worry, I'm pretty sure it'll happen no matter what. I think it's one of those games that are just waiting in line, about to happen. It doesn't matter, it will happen. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be localized. I mean, it all depends in the end on how well will fare Trails of Cold Steel 3, which is coming in September 2019, this very same year as of the making of this video. So Trails of Cold Steel 4, I kind of think we can take it for granted. Well, maybe, but chances are we will. So don't worry, that is why I didn't include that great game on the list. Now, stay put for more honorable mentions. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!